Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Changing the Narrative. I'm Elizabeth here with my co host.
Murray Elborn. Hello, everyone.
See, you were slow on the take that time, not me.
I was trying to
We're going to get
trying
it
to switch
right.
the camera view from you as the intro to both of us together. So, I'm sure the technical and my mind is like a 5 second delay.
We're slowly becoming a high budget production, everyone. We will get there.
Absolutely. I'm not. I'm also not
All
sure why
right.
my background has reversed back to my old background, but hey, you get that.
You know what? You win some, you lose some. And in the middle of the holiday season, we have to choose which ones we're going to fight, and that is not one we're going to fight. So,
That's
we
true.
hope you all had a lovely Thanksgiving. We are getting ready to start, I guess we are starting the month of December now. And we are excited to talk to you, unless Murray tells me otherwise, about navigating the holidays as a person with blindness or low vision. So, Murray, kick us off. What are we talking about? What are we starting with today, my friend?
Well, we know that holidays are around, as you said, Thanksgiving, Turkey Day USA. Hope you all had a great basting and stuffing and everything else that you do with turkeys on this thankful day. Um, Everyone asks me, actually, a lot of Americans ask me, well, what did you do for Thanksgiving? I'm like, that's not actually an Australian holiday. I don't know if you've read your history or
Mm.
not, but it's all about America. So we do
You
not
watched
select
football.
what?
You
Not
watched football.
Well, I did watch football actually all
You
day, and
watched
actually there were
football.
there were
Did
three really great games on. I have to say, I was thoroughly enthralled and had good turkey, nice and moist. So no complaints at this end of the spectrum. But I also found a really cool
please
turkey
don't
song that
ever
we can't share, but due to
don't ever
con-
don't ever use the word moist again. Well, I'm just going to stop you there. Just don't use that word. It's a gross word.
tender, tender.
Better. That's better. Thank you.
So
Proceed.
yes, Chrissy, my favorite holiday of the year. I love it so much. In fact, we just put up our Christmas decorations over the past couple of weeks, actually. We started after Halloween, so we've been at it for a month and adding to it. And yes, 2 days ago, we put up a 14-foot Frosty the Snowman, which is putting our
Oh my
neighbors to
gosh.
absolute shame, actually, which I'm very happy about. I always love to be the best Christmas place in the block. And in Australia, our neighbors put up lights the day before we put up ours. And then when we put up all of our decorations, they actually took their lights down in shame. So
Oh my gosh. That's terrible.
I love that kind of stuff. It makes my heart warm.
It's not like you're competitive or anything, though.
No, no, definitely not.
No,
Definitely, I'm
no.
happy to be the not nicest house in the block for Christmas. Not really, actually. That's not true. But yes, the holidays are an exciting time, but also can be a frightening time, I guess, for people where they have to go back to families and see old friends and talk about themselves. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that is confronting about holidays, I think. And so today, my faithful co host and I will talk about some of those things and give you some of our antidotes for holiday blues and some of the things we enjoy most about the festive season. So, Lizzie, kick us off.
All right. So I want to kind of preface this conversation with recognition, right, of the reality that everyone walks a different walk when it comes to disability. So if these things do not tried and true work for you, that is okay. Um, you will run into five different ways to solve three different problems if you talk to six different people, right? So I think it's really important to acknowledge, my way is not the right way, it's just the right way for me. Um, I would start as everyone does in my family with Thanksgiving. We are very much a Christmas before Thanksgiving family in that I could have my tree up year round and not be grumpy about it, but we are food and football people through and through. So one thing that I am going to kick us off with is walking through the food lines at holiday gatherings, right? Whether this is Thanksgiving, whether this is Christmas, whether this is St. Patrick's Day, whenever your family feasts, no judgment here. Um,
what would
I have
have for
found
St. Patrick's
personally,
Day? What would the food line
what
be
about
for
St. Patrick's
Patrick?
Day?
What would the food line be for St. Patrick's Day?
All green items, green beans, pickles,
Peas.
other lime jello. There's options. There's options.
Okay.
I don't think I'd want to be at that feast personally, but that's my grind to bear.
Green eggs and ham.
Um, Green eggs, indeed. Sam I am, and those green eggs and ham. What a guy. What a pal. Okay, I'd be at his feast for sure. Um, to walk and be guided, to walk and serve yourself. Like what's your take, Murray? What do you do? What has been your experience in this realm?
Well, I come at it from 2 points here, where in Australia for Christmas, it's usually a roast dinner
Mm-hmm.
with stuff in the middle of the table. But essentially, the
Mm-hmm.
person who cooks it or the person who's serving will serve the food and put it on the table. So you sit down and there's your plate with everything on it, which is fantastic. Um, or we typically pass it around once it's on the table. So someone will say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, mashed potatoes, baked potatoes, whatever it is, here you go, and then they'll pass it to you. So that's my preferred way to do it because
Mm-hmm.
I'm used to it, and also it's most convenient. But the bread line, when it starts around the corner, and you're kind of like either not first, where someone's telling you what's there, or when you're last and everyone's eating, is not a good thing. So I do agree that the escorted or preferred way to do it is to have someone serve for you.
Yeah. And I think that's a very like hot take, right? I was explaining this to somebody the other day and they were like, seriously, you have somebody dish up your plate? And honestly, what it came down to is before I had blindness skills, this was just a very standard like norm in my family, right? I mean, still to this day, it's a pretty big norm in my family. And I think one of the realities that we as people with disabilities get to live is sometimes we have to almost seemingly like earn that independence, right? And, you know, I've proven to myself, I've proven to my family, like I can live on my own. I can cook a meal for 40 people. I can do this, that, and the other thing, right? Fighting with somebody over who's dishing up my Thanksgiving meal isn't worth it to me. Particularly on a day when I have to save most of my hostility for discussions about politics with my father or discussions about my fantasy football team with my cousin Jake, right? Like we have to conserve our energy for things that are deemed more valuable, right? Whatever that is. And it was a really interesting conversation for me the other day because I was like, who dishes my food? Not the top of my priorities list. Like it's not worth it to me. It's not something that I feel like I have to prove. It's not the hill that I'm going to die on. I do really like this idea of what you're talking about, Marie, is family style, right? Like getting everything on the table and passing dishes. I'm
Yeah.
curious though, what size like family, what is that group size that gets together?
Well, typically around Christmas time, there's probably 12 of us, 10 to 12 of us. So
That's
there's
a
a fair
huge
bit.
table.
Yeah, it's a big table and it's passed around. So I like that because you don't have to just walk around and kind of look into the dishes. Like someone's going to say, here's the potatoes, here's the ham, here's the whatever it is, turkey. And so then you're
Yep.
not in a position where, and we talk about this a lot, Liz, and I'm a big believer in this, is that preparation is everything, right? And so
Yep.
we've often had conversations around, well, how do you make your family more inclusive and aware from an advocacy standpoint about what your needs are? And how can you do things together to be able to maximize that advocacy? Well, this is one thing that I think is important, right? So you know that there's going to, however you do it, right? You know that that's how it's going to be done because you've done it multiple years, probably.
Mhm.
And that's a good opportunity to talk to somebody in the family who organizes that and say, well, I'd really like to try it this way. This would really
Mhm.
assist me or help me. But what about those people who are maybe coming to terms with their blindness and still want to be really independent, Elizabeth? What would you think about that situation?
I think everyone owes it to themselves to do what they feel most comfortable doing, right? If you want to have that conversation, I think it's probably best had proactively as opposed to reactively, right? And I'll use, myself as an example. My dad does all of the cooking for our family on Thanksgiving. And someday that baton will come to me because I want Thanksgiving to be held at my house because I don't want to have to travel, right? I'll name that. I also think that I'm the person who's going to be the most diligent to staying tried and true to our like traditional dishes, right? If I went to my dad and I said, "Hey, here's how I'd really like us to arrange this year," I think my dad would be all over it, right?
Yeah.
It's communicating that need ahead of time as
Yeah.
opposed to, if my mom were to grab a plate, and I don't think this would be a problem in my family, but I'm going to continue to run with the example. And she goes, "Hey, Boo, what do you want for lunch?" Right. And I'm just like, "Give me the plate. I'm going to do it myself." Right. That's
Yeah.
a little combative, right? If I were to say, like, "Hey, mom, I'm going to try and dish up this year. Can you just walk in front of me and tell me what the dishes are?" Or, something like that. It's communicating that need or that desire in a respectful, proactive way that doesn't automatically put your defenses up. I think a lot of people, when they're getting into, Kenneth Jernigan calls it radical independence, right? I'm proving it to you and I'm proving it to me. And dang it all the hell, that's what's gonna happen, right? Whatever.
And holidays
I
are
think
like
a lot of that
the
is
big
rooted
kicker, though,
in,
right? Because when you used to doing something and
yeah.
you had vision, and then maybe you've lost vision, or maybe it's declining gradually,
Mhm.
and you're not as sure anymore. Like buffets, right? Buffets are the bane of my existence, and I just
I was literally just gonna say the exact same thing.
yeah, I mean, I just struggle,
I
and
hate
I've got
them.
I've got decent vision. I've got 2200 vision, and I can still see. But the silver, usually, it's a bright silver tag with indented black, which is horrific. And we go to buffets, and sure, I can mostly see the food, but if it's like a stew or something like that, I don't know what kind it is. And so 9 times out of 10, I just don't get it, right? Because I don't know what it is and I can't read the thing. And or I'll ask somebody, who's serving, what is that? But it's a constant, right? It's a constant for someone who has blindness and low vision, and it is difficult to deal with. And it's like anything, right? I was watching some content on TikTok the other day, and one of the people in the blind talk group said that she took her cane to a wedding for the first time, and it was really confronting for her. But she just
Mhm.
thought, "I've got no alternative. I need the cane, and I just need to put myself out there." And her comment was, "It wasn't anywhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be." And so, like, that's the truth,
Yeah.
really, for 90%. And again, Elizabeth, as she said in the beginning, everybody is very different, right? And so we don't say, "Hey, you have to think this way," or you need to do it this way. But for the majority, I think is we build things up in our minds about how hard something's going to be, and it doesn't have to be that hard. Use your communication to talk to people about what's going to be best for you and how you can adjust and advocate for yourself. Like, those are the core things throughout life. And all of these podcast episodes, that we've done, we're up to episode 7 now, but the theme is continually through that, right? Is communication,
Mhm.
advocacy, and do what you need to have done.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting too, Mary. You bring up the concept of weddings, right? Weddings aren't a holiday, but they are a special occasion. I think it's also a really good reminder for us, right? Like, this is our safe space to talk about these things. I have a travel instructor when I was down at the Louisiana Center for the Blind, and he is kind of my go-to person when I have like a super random, right? Marco will text me that's, you and Rosie use your canes when you got married? Because I'm just like, I'm curious, right? I've never been married. I'm a cane user. I don't really want to use my beat up cane when I'm walking down the aisle, right? Technically, I'd be using human guide, right? Because my dad's going to walk me down the aisle if I ever decide I'm going to put up with a man's nonsense for the rest of my life, etc. So,
Or
getting
they
from
have to
point
put
A
up
to
with
point B,
yours,
but
to
then
be
the
fair.
question is, okay, or yeah,
Yeah.
whatever, blah, 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 semantics, okay? But then on the exit, right? What if the dude that I'm marrying can't see? Like, does he have a cane up there? Is it laying down on a step? Like, where is it resting? And I think it's so funny. So, if anybody has their answers to that question, I would love to know, how have you seen it done? How did you do it? What worked well? What didn't? Just to appease my curiosity. But always a good reminder to have that these are safe spaces. So, let's leave Thanksgiving behind. Let's talk about Christmas, right? Christmas is a lot about visual aesthetics, right? Any level of decorating your home, what looks nice, what doesn't look nice. What is your role Murray, in prepping for the holidays when it comes to like getting your home ready? What does that look like? And if you don't have one, that's okay too.
It's a bit of a debate at the moment in our house as to who has the ultimate decorating rights. And so what we did was we split the house, and Tammy took the top, and I took the bottom level. And of course, everyone says how fantastic the bottom level is, not to gloat, but
Stop.
no, but really, it's like we had a discussion about it, right? Is what would you like to do? What would she like to do? How can we work together? So we did the outside together, which was kind of fun and decorated, and spent way too much money at Costco. And then inside, we spent way too much money at Hobby Lobby, and
Yep.
also she took the top and I took the bottom, and so it worked out really well. And we both love Christmas; it's both our favorite time of the year. But again, I think it can be confronting, right? And so try to make things fun. Try to make things so you can get something out of the experience. I'm a big believer in that. Is like, what do you want to do? Maybe you just hate Christmas because it brings up a bad memory of, I don't know, whatever, as a kid, not being able to see things, or certain challenges with your vision, or maybe it's the dinner, eating something that you thought was something else. I've done that so many times. I'll tell you
Yep.
a story about eating things. I was in this big gala event, and the lights were down for dinner with the blue
Oh
lights coming
no.
out of the thing. And so you're kind of sitting in the dark with blue lights coming at you, and you just like, it's impossible, right? And so,
Mhm.
you kind of knife and fork it to see kind of what it might be, and kind of do the sniff test a little bit. And anyway, I ate a flower off the plate. It was a decorative flower that I thought was something else. And so, it's becoming one with nature is part of part of your
Was
decision.
it? Was it
Yeah,
good? Would you do it again?
I probably wouldn't actually. No, I'd
Blech.
yeah,
That's
probably
gross.
probably not do that. But
We've all done that though. I mean, right?
I've
Whether
also
it's
used a Brussels sprout
flora
with
or
a
not.
potato. Brussels sprouts as potatoes, not very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely can appreciate that. You hinted at something though that I think is a really fun kind of topic to dive into. It jogged a thought for me, right? My contribution to my family is I am an expert gift wrapper. Okay. Like that is like my dad used to tape boxes shut with my own gifts in them and have me wrap my own presents. Like it is my jam. I love it because so much of it is texture, right? I mean, you're
Yeah.
feeling, you know what you're working with, yada yada yada. But one thing that my family has done probably as far back as I can remember, and then some, is when people are unwrapping presents at my house, they will announce what they are opening. Like it's like I can hear my brother going, "Oh, dude, I got socks," right? I don't know if people do that in families that don't have a blind person in them because I very rarely, if ever, see like other families open their Christmas gifts. But I'm wondering now if this is like a normal, evolution where my family just knows like if they don't announce it, I'm not gonna know what it is.
Yeah, I think a lot of families do announce. I mean, like some people just ask, well, what did you get? I'm not sure that they announce everything, certainly, but a lot of them, we just kind of say now, oh, I got this. But I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
The other thing is, Lizzie, it's 2025, and I don't know that gift wrapping is. I mean, you put it in a bag and put some paper over it, and you're done. So
No, absolutely not. It's an
if
it's
you
an
don't want
art.
to be
It's back off my no.
the
Get out of
specialist
my
gift
territory. This is
wrapper,
fine.
and you want something a little easier in life, then by all means go get some bags and just put them in the bag.
Okay, but if you like your gifts to be pretty and you want to
Right.
show off your skills,
Yeah. All
okay,
means you
go
use,
go
but
to
then do.
Sam's Club. This is my hot take. Maybe this is my resource share of the day. Woo, we're
Right.
getting to it early. Sam's Club's double-sided wrapping paper is like the best thing I've ever used in my entire life. I think it's like Hallmark brand or something, but I always go like right after Christmas and I buy like 3 or 4 rolls that'll probably last me 10 years because there's just so much wrapping paper. But one of the things that we've learned in our family is if we have double-sided paper, if we have 2 rolls, that's 4 patterns. And there's 4 members of my family, right? So like this year, perfect example, my mom has red and black plaid. I've already wrapped one of her Christmas presents. And my dad has like a green kind of, I don't know if it's like poinsettias or Christmas trees or whatever, but he's got a different pattern. So if they're distinct enough with or without labels on them, I can see which ones, they are to help sort out the gifts on Christmas or whatever. Some people make piles around the tree. Some people just don't care, right? And they have somebody else dish them out, whatever that wants to look like for you. I think it's just really fun to look at some of those life hacks. But notoriously, what happens, Marie, in our family, I like the bag concept in theory. And then I use them and I want to reuse them. And my
Right.
brother, who's 30 years old, gets
Yeah.
overly excited and he rips the bag and it makes me very
Ah,
grumpy.
right.
I do have to tell you like one and a half really funny stories about
Well,
gift wrapping in our house.
okay.
Um
Well, I just want to ask
that
one question before you do that.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know how you said, you take great care and you wrap the presents and you very, everyone loves your wrapping. Do you
Mhm.
then go and stick a stick-on bow, or do you actually do the bow too?
I traditionally don't do the bow. I used to do the ribbons. Like I used to be really good at the ribbon
Right.
curls.
That's what I'm saying.
I've never learned the bow. I think that would be really fun.
Uh,
Um to learn how to do like the formal bow, but I don't have that skill set yet. Maybe next year. Maybe next year.
so if we have any listeners or viewers who would like to see Elizabeth learn how to do the bow, that could be a little workshop in itself. Good job.
Oh, that
Please,
would be
please comment.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so one and a half stories about gift unwrapping at the Rouse house. Story number one, gift number one from me to you all. It is a no-fly zone rule in my home that the men in my family are not allowed to throw things during unwrapping time, right? When we're balling up paper, like we toss it off to the side, mostly because our cats like to play with it, to be honest. A couple years ago, I can't remember if it was my dad or my brother, one of them hit me in the eye with a corner of a box in the middle of unwrapping gifts. So that's a no fly. You can't do it at our house anymore.
That's
Monica
going to
put
put
her
a
foot
stop to
down.
the Christmas year, I'm guessing.
It hurt really bad, actually. I think I cried while we unwrapped presents, which was just kind of
Oh,
embarrassing, but it hurt. It was like a cardboard box in my freaking eye. Um, the other one that I think is really funny, right, is I explore my gifts by touch. And a couple of years ago, I asked my family, I was like, hey, I'm getting ready to move out on my own for a couple years. Like, I want a blender, right? I'm a big smoothie fan. I'm a big milkshake fan, right? I could probably make gravy in a blender. Never done it. We'll get there next. Um, and I was exploring my new Ninja blender, and I didn't realize that the blades were already in my Ninja blender.
oh,
So I reached my hand right down in there and sliced
oh.
up the inside of my hand like you wouldn't believe. And I very calmly got up. They tell you when you have a cut, like go run it under really cold water, see if you can stop the blood flow. And I came back and my mom goes, hey, did you just cut yourself? And I was like, yeah, like not a big deal. And she goes, let me see. And I opened up my hand and it just gushed. Like it was crazy. I think my mom thought I was going to die. And it took so long to heal. But guess what? I learned my lesson. I don't reach inside presents ever again.
Good idea about that.
Oh, it hurts so bad.
Temmie has a similar story, not Christmas, but she begged me to get her this set of knives from Costco one year in Australia. First time, first night she used them, slice went the thumb. We spent 13 hours in the emergency room. It was
Ugh.
fantastic. Yeah, good times.
Be careful gift giving this holiday season. We are not sponsored by any urgent care facility.
Stay away from blades. That's the moral of the story.
For real.
My resource is a little bit like your resource, but more practical because
Copycat.
they're bags. And you can get a set of 18 different kinds of bags in one box at Costco right now. So if you're a bag person instead of a wrapping paper person, then we've both solved your problems in life during this podcast.
But you have to have a Costco membership and a Sam's Club membership. So how do we solve that problem?
Well, if you have both in your city, congratulations, because I love Sam's Club. I used to have a Sam's Club in Mobile, Alabama when I lived there, and I loved that place. But I do love Costco as well. So I probably suspect if you have both, you probably have a membership to both. And if you don't, you probably know somebody who does.
Do you want to know the secret life hack?
Sure. Tell us.
I'm pretty sure if you have a gift card, I know this is true for Costco. I've heard it's true for Sam's and I've never confirmed.
Yes, I
If
believe.
you were if you were to go to Costco with a $5 Costco card, right? You don't have a membership card, but you have a gift card, they have to let you in the door. And even if you spend $1,000, as long as you start by paying with that gift card, you can pay for the rest of it using like a standard credit card. Um, so
As long
so
as, as
have
long as it's a Visa card.
have one of
It
your
has to be a
friends
Visa
get you
card.
a gift card.
Has to
Yeah.
be a Visa card at
So
Costco.
call Murray.
Yeah,
Call Murray and he'll get you a
I,
Costco gift card.
I have them.
I'm
And if,
pretty sure the same thing is true of Sam's Club. And I think it actually is also owned by the same people who own Walmart. So you might even be able to get into Sam's Club with a Walmart gift card. But I, again, have never fact checked that. I don't speak for the brand or the company. Costco,
it's,
if you want to sponsor our podcast, please let us know because I would love that.
I think that they do pizzas. So if you like the Costco pizza, but I actually like the Sam's Club Meat Lovers pizza a lot. And I'm a little sad that I can't get it anymore.
I haven't been to a Sam's Club in so long. I'm gonna need to go. I'm gonna need to go again. So this
If,
is
if
my
you're a vegan or a vegetarian, don't come at me, okay, for the meat lovers.
I won't come
I'm
at you.
Australian. I'm a carnivore. What can I say?
I'm a carnivore. I
Um,
eat kangaroos and koalas down in the outback.
exactly. What else?
Precisely.
What else
Nice.
for holidays? Now, one thing that I want to talk about is, you guys have Black Friday here, which is the day after
Ugh.
Thanksgiving, which is God's gift to shopping, apparently. But
No.
in Australia and in Canada, for that instance, we have something called Boxing Day. Ever heard of Boxing Day, Lizzie?
Like right hooks
Well,
or
that's
like
what one
different
thinks
hooks?
about when they think about Boxing Day, but that actually isn't the case. It was originally Reboxing Day for things that got hit in the eye and wanting to pack them back away in their boxes.
Oh.
And so it
Mm-hmm.
was Boxing Day after Christmas Day. So in Australia, all of our sales are on Boxing Day, not Black Friday.
Interesting.
Although now we've suddenly become American for everything. Halloween was everywhere when I went back in September, and
Yeah.
and we're also getting Black Friday sales now and Cyber Monday sales in Australia. So thanks, America. Next, we'll be tipping people.
Wait, Australia doesn't tip people? What? Okay, different topic. Different topic. Rewind,
Yes,
rewind.
Australia does
I
not
am
tip
not a Black
because,
Friday
because we have to
person.
pay a wage to people so they can live without us subsidizing it.
That's so interesting. Okay, I'm gonna pick your brain about that later.
Yeah.
I am not a Black Friday person, particularly because I get very overwhelmed in crowds. So if I'm doing Black Friday shopping, it's while in my pajamas, probably sitting at my kitchen table.
Right.
I will be the first person to fess up. I bought my older brother's Christmas present on Black Friday this year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I definitely take advantage of the deals. I love slash hate all the promo emails that like places will send me. NCL, the cruise line that actually I went to Alaska with, is like emailing me Black Friday deals, and I'm like, should I book another cruise? I should book another cruise. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity there. If it's a good deal, the thing that I encourage people to remember, completely separate from blindness, is if you wouldn't pay for it at full price, maybe consider whether or not you need it on Black Friday. But I'm not here to judge. I'm not looking at your credit card statements. Your business is your business. I do like that a lot of things have gone online because I think that makes them a bit more accessible from the perspective of like going out and trying to find things in stores and yada, yada, yada. I will give myself this nerdy shout out because I thought this was really funny. So I saw on TikTok that there was some puzzles being sold at Target that are book themed, right? One of them is the Empyrean series, that's Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm. One of them is A Court of Thorns and Roses. It's the Starfall scene from A Court of Mist and Fury, the second novel. And then one of them was Assistant to the Villain, which I haven't read yet, and one of them was from the Dream Harbor series, which is like a contemporary romance. And I was obsessed with these puzzles. Like I was like, I have to get them. Like I want them so bad. Mostly because I wanted to see if I could do a puzzle completely by myself, not visually, because my family tends to like see a puzzle and they're like, "Ooh, I'm gonna help," and I'm like, "Don't touch my puzzles." Um, so I went to Target with my mom, and we're like looking through the book section. She's like, "I can't find them. Like they're not here. I don't know where they are." And I was like, "Bet." So I got on Target's website. I actually Googled, just like standing in the store, like a Court of Thorns and Roses themed puzzle, target.com or whatever. And I found the store location and I found what aisle they were supposed to be in, right? And my mom's like, we're literally in this aisle. And I was like, okay, back up, like hold my phone. Okay. And I just started like running my hands across the aisles. And I thought it was hilarious. I found the puzzles and she couldn't find them. Like they were on an end cap that she just like totally didn't even look at. And I found all four of them and I got three of them. So guess what I did over my Thanksgiving holiday break? It looks really nice. Yeah.
Puzzles. Did
I'm
you
now
get
I
them
have
all
to go get
together,
puzzle
Lizzie?
glue.
Did you
Now I
get
have
them
to
all
go get
together?
puzzle glue. So if anybody has puzzle glue sales for Cyber Monday, drop
Oh.
them. Just no big deal. But
Are puzzles
yeah.
permanent? Are they supposed to be glued?
Are what?
Are puzzles permanent? Are they supposed to be glued?
So I really like the idea of decorating with things that matter to me, and I really like to read. Um, so a lot of times, no, but these ones are book related, and the one that I did is it's the Dream Harbor one, and it's holiday themed. And my mom is very big on like hanging holiday pictures.
Mm.
So I'm gonna glue it and frame it, and then it's gonna be like my hallway edition during like the Christmas season.
Right.
So I'm gonna get it up, and then the other two are just gonna hang in my office space kind of year round. So traditionally, not a ton of them, but
Yeah.
it just depends on the person. I think it's kind of fun. I think it's a little different.
So,
So
does your family play Christmas games on Christmas Day? This is a new thing that we've started for the last 2 years, and I love it. And I actually saw all the TikToks of people playing their little Christmas games and thought, hey, that looks fun. I should coordinate this. So now I don't buy Christmas presents. I just buy the presents that go into, or the gift cards or
mm,
whatever that go into the games for everyone,
interesting.
and everyone loves them. And so for the last 2 years, we've done this, and everybody's just had a fantastic time. But I would be really keen to know from our listeners and viewers, do you have an adaptive Christmas game that people could play with their family?
I think a lot of the traditional Christmas games. So I have two answers to this question. My family used to be board game people, board game and card game people. On my dad's side of the family, like it would not be a family gathering without a rousing game of fact or crap, and or golf. Right? Those are
Yeah,
pretty easily adaptable in that, like golf, you get a couple braille decks of cards and you're good to go. Right? Things of that nature.
yeah.
Um,
I don't know
we
anything about playing golf with cards, so
Yeah, I'll teach you sometime. It's really fun.
okay, that's great.
Um, my mom has recently got into the Christmas games where like you have, 25 red solo cups and under half
Yeah,
of them is, an egg, and in the egg is nothing, or in the egg is two quarters, or maybe
right.
it's a ceramic Christmas tree or different things like that. I think a lot of those things are kind of inherently non-visually accessible because you're reaching for a cup, right? You could feel
Yeah,
the cup.
yeah,
Nobody knows what's under the cup.
right.
um the game where you do like layers of saran wrap, right? And you have to unwrap the saran wrap, and whatever you unwrap during your like 30-second turn,
Yeah,
you're essentially making a giant Easter egg, and whatever falls out of the Easter egg during your unwrapping session, like that's what you get to keep, right?
right. Yeah,
um Also non-visually accessible. I think a lot of those games are kind of built with everyone in mind, which I think is kind of fun. Everyone who has standard access to mobility, right?
yeah,
I want to
right.
recognize mobility limitations.
Yeah,
Um, but I can't get on board with the saran wrap one anymore because it seems very wasteful to me, which my mom is very grumpy about because she loves that one. And what we have discovered, and this is not a shot at men, but I'm going to take it anyway, is the boys in our family just don't get excited about those things anymore. So we get like really excited and we have a bunch of fun and we put it together. And like this year for Thanksgiving, it was literally my mom, my dad, me, my brother, my mom's mom, so my grandma, my aunt, my uncle, and my cousin Jake. So, it would have been four of us maybe having fun, and then the boys would have been like watching football, right? It just depends. But I think it's always fun to explore those things, to play around. If you want to start a really great Christmas cribbage tournament, right? Like there's tons of ways to keep score non-visually, to track your cards, read a deck of braille cards, get a set of raised dice, like whatever you need to do. Super great resource there is the National Federation of the Blind's, oh my gosh, what's it called? Independence Market. So you can get tons and tons of games built accessibly, in that vein. Look up resources online. Google is your friend. Use ChatGPT, or as my Uncle Byron called it, um, what did he call it? Snap PDQ or something like that on Thanksgiving for food.
Right. Okay.
So
Uh,
yeah.
Here's a fun thing for you to do
Mhm.
is reverse the cycle. So online you can buy just sleep shade blindfolds for like $1
Yeah.
and take them to Christmas. And what we did was we set up a large cupcake tin that I think had 18 or 24 cupcake places in it. We placed it at the
Mhm.
end of the table. We tapped the end of the table. Someone stands at the end of the table and taps. The other person puts on a blindfold at the other end of the table, and it was a long kind of dinner table, and takes
Mhm.
a ping pong ball and tries to get the ping pong ball into the cake tin, blindfolded, and works like a
Sounds
charm.
like you're playing a
It's the
third-rate game of beer pong.
it's the funniest thing you've ever seen. And my stepfather, he not or my stepfather in law kind of thing, once removed by three people. I don't know, but anyway, my wife's mother's husband. Um,
Mhm.
he is the most patient man alive. I've never seen him get the least bit angry or upset or about anything, but he could not get the ball into the tin and he was like frantic about it. It is hilarious.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
challenge your family to do something that you might do and have them understand and have advocacy around that as well. But it's also something really fun that you can do and bring to
Mhm.
Christmas.
I don't know in what world I would put on learning shades and throw ping pong balls at a muffin tin, but I love the creativity. The one like warning that I will offer, because I think people get really touchy about this, right? Make sure you're not saying, and I know this isn't what you were suggesting, but I have to do the catch-all. Make sure you're not giving somebody a task that is like unsafe.
Yes.
If they do not have the non-visual skill set to navigate that task safely, right? I'm not going to give my mom a knife, even though she's
No.
been an adult and cutting and cooking her own food for however many years. I'm not going to give her a knife and say, go cut up these vegetables. By the way, put on your learning shades, right?
Yes.
So, as that perfect example of like a stagnant, goofy, you're not asking anybody to run, you're not asking anybody
Yeah.
to, walk up and downstairs, whatever. Just make sure whatever you're doing is fun and safe and no children or animals were harmed in the making of this movie kind of content
Uh,
appropriate.
yeah. 100%. No ice bucket
Yeah,
challenges here. Um, so I think we've found some fun things to do. I think we've talked about
absolutely.
conversation, advocacy, communication being really important. But most of all, try and have fun. Try and find something that is fun to do. The holidays
Mhm.
are, something that you can share with people who you like to be around. It doesn't have to necessarily be family. It could be with friends, loved ones. Yeah,
Absolutely.
and so make the most of that opportunity rather than looking at the bad stuff and the things that frustrate you. Try and engage yourself into something that makes you happy. That's what Christmas and holidays should be about: being happy.
And tell us in the comments what holiday traditions you celebrate, you enjoy, you hate, right? Talk about the holidays that we left out. I think, Murray, we could do this again in the summer and talk about like summer activities, boating, 4th of July, fireworks, right? I can tell you about the time I almost shot out my own eye with a Roman candle. All sorts of fun to explore there. We know we didn't get to it today, but I have 8 inches of snow outside, so it would make me sad to talk about tubing on the Mississippi River when there's 8 to 11 inches of snow outside. So,
Oh, we've got
uh,
snow outside too today, actually, which is pretty
yeah,
frosty. 14-foot Frosty the Snowman has a little dusting on his hat, which I was
I'm so
excited.
happy for it. Did you sing him happy birthday? Did he come to life?
Yeah,
Did it work?
it didn't come to life yet, but I think he's saving himself for Christmas Day.
Oh, I love that. We love the magic. We love the
Yeah.
magic. All right. Well, friends, thank you for joining us on another episode of Changing the Narrative. We will be back before you can even miss us with our next episode. Go to Sam's Club, go to Costco, buy the gifts, do the things, celebrate, and
Oh,
know
before,
that,
before we go, before we go,
oh,
we would be
What?
remiss if we did not say what our favorite Christmas carol was and our favorite ornament is for the Christmas
Bro,
tree.
you're only gonna give me one?
Yeah, you have to pick. I'll go first, so it gives you time to think. Um,
Oh.
there's a kids version of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer where they're like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer has a shiny nose like a light bulb, and if you ever saw it, you would even well. Anyway, the kids put fun things after each verse, and so I would suggest that you try and listen to that because it's hilarious. But also notable mention to Six White Boomers, which is an
Wait a
Australian
minute.
version.
You don't get two if I don't get two.
Just a fun fact. I'm just giving the Australian side of it. If you're Australian, Six White Boomers is like six white kangaroos, albino kangaroos, because we don't call them albino, we call them albino. Albino kangaroos that like jump around and carry the sleigh for Santa in Australia.
That's awesome.
Because it's summer and reindeer probably not going to work. Although when I was young, I did used to put out the carrots and the water for the reindeer.
That's so sweet.
I know.
I love that for you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, hang on. I'll do my
Um,
I'll do my ornament.
Go
For
ahead.
those of you who do
Go
know
ahead.
me, you know that I used to have an affinity with KFC Zinger burgers or sandwiches, as you Americans call them, and it's fantastic, and I eat way too many. But my lovely wife bought me back a KFC bucket ornament this year, and so now the Colonel holding his KFC bucket is my number one favorite Christmas ornament.
Has anyone ever told you you're a redneck?
I mean, the appropriate term is bogan in Australia for redneck. I
Yep,
pride
you got
myself
that down, buddy.
on
Uh-huh.
not really being a bogan, but now that you bring it up, KFC kind of is. So yeah, maybe. All right,
Uh-huh.
Lizzie, your turn. Let's go.
All right. So I, to Murray's jealous levels, got to see Pentatonics in concert a couple of weeks ago. So I would say my favorite Christmas carol at this moment, and I reserve the right to change it, is You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch, the Pentatonics version. The bass really gets to like let his freak flag fly. And I think Max does an incredible job on that version. It's off of their latest album, Christmas in the City. Super, super fun if you guys have not had a chance to check it out.
Pentatonics
Honorable
is fantastic.
mention,
Yes.
honorable mention, because I get one because you did.
Uh-huh.
My
But
ringtone right
are you
now.
from another country? I don't think that you should get an honorable mention because you're
The
just.
artist is Canadian, so back off.
All right. Is it Taylor?
Um,
Is this
my
going to be a Taylor
ringtone
thing?
right now is Michael Bublé's Blue Christmas, and it will be until probably January 1st. I'm a huge Bublé girl through and through. And I'm gonna twist just a little bit because right now we don't have any ornaments on our tree. We just have the decorative like round like spheres.
No
Because
ornaments.
my cat
Oh,
bats those off, and I don't think they're fun. Um,
okay.
so I've been on a ugly Christmas
One
sweater
reason not to have
grind.
cats.
Yeah, leave my cat alone. He's a hero. Okay. I've been an ugly Christmas sweater grind, and I'm going to elf trivia on Wednesday. And you better believe I got an ugly Christmas sweater with Will Ferrell's face on it. And this sweater has been sold at Kohl's for like years and years and years. And every year I'm like, that's hilarious. I love it. And I've never gotten it. And so my mom and I went to Kohl's the other day and I was like, dude, we're going to elf trivia. Like, carpe diem. This is my time. Okay. Grab the elf off the shelf and let's go. And my mom was like, I wonder where it's at. Like, she's looking around and I was like, follow me. And I literally led her
You're like
directly to the
you're
Christmas. I
like
had like a
the
beacon.
whisperer
Like,
of stores and finding things.
I was Rudolph. Like, I had that shiny nose. I
Yeah.
knew where I was
It was
going.
really
It
cold
was
outside, was it?
is what?
Really cold outside. Is that why you had your shiny nose?
Probably, yeah. Or I was just sniffing it out. I was ready. But if you're
Yeah.
really lucky, Marie, I'll send you a picture of me and my Buddy the Elf
Yes, but
Christmas sweater.
definitely need to have that for sure. I got a
Yeah, I will
t-shirt.
tell you, my favorite Elf fact is Will Ferrell gets hit by a car in the movie Elf, and the cab number that hits him is 4X27. In case you wanted, I've studied for Elf
Spoilers,
trivia.
everyone has seen what was it? What was the movie?
This is not even a
Elf?
spoiler. He's fine. Anyway,
All right,
now can I do the outro?
happy holiday.
Yes. Whatever you celebrate, whatever you don't, we are wishing you and yours the best. Stay warm if you are cold, stay cold if you are warm, and we'll be back soon.
Ta ta.